And we're live. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tom Bates. Welcome to the Hollywood Hustle. I'm here with
Jordan Sherman.
And we are happy to be here with
Ariel Myren.
Woo woo!
That's right. Thanks for coming out to the show.
Our first female guest.
Oh.
Yep. And our first live three-person presentation. So a real treat for you guys today.
That's what I'm talking about. So, for anybody who's just tuning in, Ariel is an actress in Los Angeles, kind of killing the game, if you ask me.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Nice. So when did you move here?
It'll be 3 years in July.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is a long time for most people to move here. And where did you move here from?
Washington, D.C. area, specifically Maryland, where I met Jordan.
Nice. East Coast. Yeah, we're all East Coast.
Okay.
We're both from Florida. We grew up together in South Florida. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that's cool. So did you come out here to be an actress?
Yeah, I was doing theater full-time in Washington, D.C., which is a totally different experience. And I did a little series that I was filming for over a month. It was like a sci-fi action adventure that I was filming out of Baltimore. And I realized that's what I'd rather be doing. On camera stuff spoke to me more. And I also wanted to do comedy, and this is a much better place to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Well, congratulations. You took the risk and it seems to be panning out for you.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we met. It's kind of funny because there's one of your best friends back in D.C.
Mm-hmm.
Her and I were seeing each other for a little bit, and she actually was like, after we were both out here, she's like, you two need to be friends and hang out, which we already had met. But it's just cool that there's people who, like, East Coast, we stick together. This is how it goes, you know?
Oh, yeah. It's so funny. Like, when I moved out here, I was one of two people from Maryland, from my theater program. And slowly it's grown and grown, and more theater kids from my college are coming out. But what's weird is, like, on my first day, I connected with this comedian from Wisconsin, and I've met all her college friends, and it's just become this huge group of Wisconsin kids and Maryland kids that have all stuck together, and it's bizarre.
Yeah. I don't know how many people I've met from Minnesota in this town.
It's bizarre.
Why Minnesota?
A lot of people from Minnesota. I'm not even kidding. Like, that's a phenomenon out here.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. I mean, you expect small town people from all over, but Minnesota they all come out in droves for the acting/entertainment experience. And I don't know, they're
An actor myself, I think that is the most organic way to develop it, obviously, because it's live. You get one take, so you have to have everything down before you hit the stage. And there's a lot more prep that goes into it. You got one take. And how do you think that's translated into film? Do you think film is easier than theater?
I think it's a totally different world.
Totally different.
I've seen people who have gone from theater to film, and it's been a huge asset for them. And I've seen people who have really struggled because it can be so much larger than life. Like, I had a background in clown and commedia dell'arte and all kinds of stuff. And so when I first was taking on-camera comedy classes, I would watch myself back and be like, oh, that looks crazy. Like, there would be times I would do reactions where I'd be like, oh, and I would look on camera. I'm like, oh, that's unattractive.
No real person
that's
would ever
awkward.
do that.
Nobody would do that. And like, on stage, it looks fantastic. And on camera, it's awful. And I think from the drama standpoint, film is much more natural to me because I'm much more like, I don't know. I'm like I'm more natural when it comes to drama, and it's translates to film and TV really well. But with comedy, it was like a learning experience to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah, well, I feel like in film, the camera picks up on subtleties. Mm-hmm. So you do not need to do the overreaction. And I remember I was watching a master class with Michael Caine, and he was teaching a bunch of advanced theater students and performers how to translate into film. So he was telling the story about how he was on set with another actor, and it was a big theater star in London, and he was doing a scene, and it was to get a reaction out of him, and he does it. Director's like, cut, a little bit less. He's like, okay, sure. Does it again, does a little bit less, and cut. Please, less, even less. He's like, okay. So he does it a couple more times. He's like, if I do anything less, I'll be doing nothing. He goes, now you got it.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So
even
you can
theater school. that was a thing. Like even in theater school, there'd be people who were too big for theater, and just from like taking them down from high school theater to regular theater. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. I don't know if I'd be able to handle that, because I just think of somebody who's got so much braggadocio and is flailing their arms everywhere and like, that's marvelous. Like overreacting everything.
1000%.
Oh my God.
Well, and
I hate
combine that with people bringing in high school theater drama to college. I mean, it was toxic, and a lot of that even extends to like the DC theater community. Like that is something I don't miss. Like me and my friends out here are like, oh, it is a cesspool of drama over there that just, it's like you're in high school. Like everybody knows everybody slept with everybody. And I do appreciate how big Hollywood is, and that it's a little less like that. So yeah.
It keeps feeling smaller and smaller every day though. Like
It does.
I keep running into the same people. It's like, especially because it's so, like, depending on where you live, like you stay in that quadrant, and everybody else does too. So it feels way smaller than it is, for sure.
Oh yeah, and I'll talk to someone where it's like, oh, you're from Maryland, do you know so and so? And it's like, probably yes. Like it's all the same people ultimately.
It's pretty hilarious. When you were talking about the do less, all I could think about was that scene from Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where fucking Paul Rudd's trying to teach him how to surf, and he's like, no, just do less. Just do less. It's surfing. Like it's a very physical thing. And he's just like laying there. He's like, yeah, now you got it.
Speaking of Paul Rudd, I have a theory that him and Tom Hanks are in a two-way tie for the most universally liked person in Hollywood.
Oh, I'd never considered Paul Rudd, but I always think Tom Hanks is like the most beloved ever.
Yeah, I have it on good authority from an insider that Tom Hanks is universally loved. Like there's not a single person, which is hard to do in Hollywood, to not piss anybody off. But Tom Hanks is like the master of that. But I also think everybody loves Paul Rudd. He just seems like such a likable guy.
I feel like every woman I know has told me they have a crush on Paul Rudd. And
Well,
I'm
because of
always
Clueless.
like, oh, that's a good.
That's why.
That's what
It's
is.
Inception, since you were a wee lad. Not a lad, but you know.
It was all a
Twist.
giant. It was a marketing ploy by his agent to get him into the minds of young girls to have that longevity in his career. That's what it was.
It's genius.
It's on his resume. I've seen it. Yeah. So, are you working on any interesting projects right now?
So I've been producing my own film since like September. It's a short, but right now it's like 45 minutes, and I'm just going to cut it to pieces because it's comedy and I want to keep the timing tight. And it was my first film, so I think there was a lot of extra, there was a lot of improv, stuff that I'm going to be down to cut out and just really polish. It's been a huge learning experience.
Is that your first experience producing a movie?
Yeah. And so I'd been writing forever. I have like hundreds and hundreds of pages of writing that I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with, whether it was going to extend to stand-up, sketches, scripts, books. I didn't know. And one of my friends was just starring in a show off Broadway, and she wanted to come visit me for a month last summer. And one of the scripts I had written, one of the characters was based on her. And I was like, let's just film this thing while you're here. And so we rushed. We got her scenes knocked out in 2 days, then took a long hiatus, just finished with 2 more days of filming. And now it's just the long post-production, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. Being a producer, from what I understand, is it ain't really any kind of fun. Like somebody's got to do it, and you'll get all the credit and everything for it. But dear God, like that is what you do until the project's over.
Yeah, and I was fortunate. I have so many talented friends that were like, "We like this script. We'll work for free for you." And I'm like, "I'll feed you all the. I'll treat you like a god. Like, thank you." But my friend Jason Velo, he's amazing, and he has all his own equipment. So I hired him to direct, and he was amazing. And we were able to grab a lot of other people, and it was a huge learning experience. Like trying to film on location in LA, where we're just like, okay, hopefully the cops don't shut us down, which I've been on the other end of that, where I'm just an actor and it's still stressful. But being the producer and being in like public parks where we're not supposed to be doing this was exciting and scary, and car alarms and, planes going by.
And your audio sucks.
Oh, yeah. And you're just like, wait. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the hardest part about producing, I think, is the logistical side of booking the venues if it's an indoor shoot, or getting the permits for an outdoor shoot. Like it's hell. That's what Sean does full time for ATV.
Oh, wow.
And there's a limited budget every single time, and you have to haggle with these people who have their set rate, and it's like you have to be an ass and like really be a forceful person to be a successful producer. It's not easy.
Yeah, no, we were at like one park where security came by and they're like, we'll let you film here as long as you don't have like a setup. So like that meaning no equipment on the ground. So the whole crew was like, okay, we're just going to hold the bags up. Yep. We're going to, as long as everything's off the ground, it's considered low budget enough. So, I mean, we had to go around all kinds of crazy situations.
Yeah, if you have a DSLR, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You could shoot anywhere with a DSLR.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Michael Bay even has to go through all kinds of red tape bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
With an
more.
unlimited budget, I'm sure he has to improvise and do all kinds of crazy shit. Which, as a quick aside, I have a funny Michael Bay story.
Sure.
Ooh, exciting.
So, Elise, Jordan's girlfriend, for those of you that don't know, Elise and I worked at a Mexican restaurant in Playa Vista, like a nice Mexican restaurant, and they used to have banquets. So Michael Bay wrapped up a film, and I don't think it was a wrap party, but it was just some kind of, private dinner that he was attending. And so I wasn't there during the banquet, but the person that was tells me that Michael Bay's assistant comes up to her and is like, hey, Michael Bay wants enchiladas. He'll have the enchiladas. And she's like, I'm sorry, this is going to sound really ridiculous, but we're a Mexican restaurant and we don't have enchiladas. She goes, listen, Michael Bay wants enchiladas. Make it happen. So she's like, all right. She goes to the chef, and I don't know if any restaurant people always know that chefs are assholes. At any moment they will revoke a request. They love doing it. They fucking love it. And they don't care who it's for, because obviously it's for like a huge Hollywood director. So like, we're not making the fucking enchiladas. So this woman goes to Whole Foods, gets frozen enchiladas,
No
like
way.
Annie's frozen organic enchiladas, and makes the chef prepare them. Michael Bay eats the enchiladas, and then the assistant comes up to her after and is like, Michael Bay said those were some of the best enchiladas he's ever had. Thank you very much for granting that request.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Well, he doesn't know shit about enchiladas, I guess.
Yeah, just explosions.
Or Annie's is
Yeah.
just the best, and it's being kept under wraps is what the twist is to that story.
Yeah, which thanks to Annie's for sponsoring the Hollywood Hustle. Their frozen organic single-serving dinners really make
Oh my
producing
God.
this show an ease, as we do not have to order out for food to prepare anything ourselves. So thank you very much to Annie's Organic. You can find them at Whole Foods, Trader Joe's,
God.
Ralph's, and Bristol Farms.
Costco,
Yum,
too.
yum.
Yes, Costco. Eating good in the neighborhood.
So, Ariel, I'm curious about like the audition process when you first started, how much momentum has to do with getting more successes, how it kind of starts to compound, and one success leads to two new successes. And like, what, since you've been here, the arc has clearly been up because you're still doing it, and it hasn't, like you're doing well. You're making a living for yourself. So how, in the beginning, were you having more difficulty getting gigs, or is it easier now? Or like, just kind of tell me a little bit about the arc of getting jobs from the beginning till now.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing has just been learning the industry out here, because I was fortunate to have really good training. I didn't come in saying like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I have bad habits that I need to get rid of. I mean, with the exception of like the over-the-top comedy. But I just needed to learn the business, which has been a really difficult process for me because I didn't go to a film school. I went to a theater school. I didn't grow up in California. I grew up in, Maryland. And so it's been such a learning process. As far as when I got out here, there's just a couple sites I had to sign up for, put my resume on. I already had a pretty good theater resume, and I had a few film credits from back east. And then I was training as soon as I got out here. I had savings from this crazy Kaiser Permanente theater job that I had back east. So I was able to funnel that into classes that would be recognizable by casting directors. And I felt really solid about my resume. I still do, as far as showing that I have a background in this and the training. So just spending all day, every day working on it was the biggest thing. Like not getting tied up in a full-time job or a part-time job, just spending all day, every day submitting to things and improving my materials, whether that was headshots or reel or business cards. As far as like the jobs I've gotten out here, I do think the more I add to my resume, the more commercials and music videos, it helps. But I think the biggest thing has just been learning, like, don't do this, do this. Like, go to these networking events. Don't do XYZ at auditions. It's awkward. Like one of the first auditions I had out here was like tiny, low budget project. at this little casting studio called Cast. It's like CAZT. And I actually did auditions there for my film. And you can do a whole day of auditions there for free if you follow all their rules. And one of them is give feedback to the actors. And I had this audition when I first moved here that was, they gave me like 1 day's notice to come in and do like 10 pages of dialogue. It was something crazy. And I was like, oh, that doesn't have to be memorized. They gave me 1 day. I'm just going to, mark it up and try to do half of it to camera, whatever. And they gave me a note that was like, if you had been memorized, we would have cast you. We loved you, but you should have been memorized. And I was like, all right away. I appreciate that. I'm going to learn from that. So now I'm always 1000% off book, 1000% prepared. And I know that makes a difference. And little things like where I'll go to a networking event with one of my best friends who's so good at networking. So I only bring her when I go. And she'll be like, what you just said was awkward. You overshared with a stranger for the sake of comedy. Don't do that. And I'll be like, you're right. And just little things where I think it's less about building my resume because I don't have any huge credits where it's going to be like, oh, you did this TV show. Really, yeah. And it's funny. It's about like, for me, getting my foot in the door in a major way hasn't happened yet. I do think I need to find like a really solid agent who's going to get me into the big rooms. For now, it's just networking's been huge for me. Every time I do a film or a TV show, like the little tiny shows that I do right now, like it's helpful that people will be like, oh, we like you. We want to work with you again. And that's been the biggest thing as far as the snowball effect, that and learning what's awkward and what's not awkward, which is big for me, a relatively awkward person.
No, I think you're doing fine. I mean, you're jumping on what's arguably the most popular podcast of all time.
Oh yeah,
right now. Yeah, and you're cool as a cucumber. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's good. Now, I think you kind of inadvertently staged out the process of moving here from elsewhere and getting into the acting industry. So you come out here and you have your resume, whatever you did from back home. And you got to polish everything up, right? You get the resume all set and everything. You get your headshots. You get your business card. You get everything all set. Then step 2 is you have to find an agent or somebody on your behalf that will get you, or a manager, somebody like that will get you into the auditions, right? Then you go to a zillion auditions. You start to book jobs. And then from there, work leads to more work. And I feel like that's like in anything, like any job I've ever had in my life. It's always been like, all right, well, we're currently at a full roster right now, but I guess we'll take you on. Don't fuck up. Okay, cool. So then I go and do my thing. They're like, we really like you. We're going to have you here all the time until you have no free time in your personal life. And that's how it works for everything, every business venture I've ever been involved in. And I don't think acting is going to be any different. You seem like a very likable, agreeable person who has her shit together. You're going to go out, you're going to get whatever break it is. You're going to be like, you know what? I fucking like her. She comes prepared, no drama, no trouble, doesn't come up, hungover or anything, knows her material, has everything in check. Yeah, I'll use her again. Or my buddy that's got that film who's looking to cast this particular role, I'm going to pass you on to them. So I think that's realistically how it works. I don't think it's like the Megan Fox situation where she was waiting tables at the Hudson and waits on like some Harvey Weinstein type character who's just like, yeah, you're hot, we're gonna cast you in Transformers.
Yeah, and all you gotta do is suck it a little bit and the job is yours.
Oh, it's so sad. No, sad. And I was reading like it's being discovered isn't a thing anymore, and there's like a lot of different reasons for that, but it's just, as far as like from an acting perspective, people want to know that you're, busting your ass. And it's really, especially now that it's so easy to find people with the way technology is, being discovered is just not a thing. Yeah.
Especially when a skill like acting, like, you actually have the training and the skills. Whereas a lot of people think, oh, I could do that. It's just being a person in front of a camera, and it's like, they don't put in the effort that it will take, and they end up having this false idea that it's going to happen for them at some point, and they never actually put in the effort.
Yeah.
And we've had this discussion a couple times, but with music, you get feedback throughout your entire life and your career because you're always playing in front of people. It's a party trick. It's not, nobody's asking you, Ariel, can you do that monologue from that new thing that you just wrote?
Does that ever happen to you though?
Can I tell you, the only time it happened to me, it was like the most hilarious nightmare situation. It was like in college, I had like broken my foot and I was on crutches. This is an aside that I think is worth it.
Okay.
I broke my foot. I was on crutches and I was like, you know what? We're going out tonight. I'm not going to let this broken foot ruin my weekend. So I crutched all the way to some party. It took like an hour, like even with a bus and everything. And we get there and we find out it was just like 4 guys in their apartment that like said there was a party to get my friend to come with girls. Yeah.
Well paid.
And so we show up and they just like are so taken aback that we had showed up and they were like, oh, we have beers. Like we can, okay. They're like, and they're like, we're in the middle of playing video games, whatever. And so they're trying to make conversation and they're just like, oh, you're an actor? Do a monologue for us. And I was like, yep, no, that's not going to happen. And they spent the entire night trying to get me to do a monologue. And it never happened. And it's never going to happen unless you are like the biggest producer ever and you're like, do a monologue. I'll be like, and here we go. But yeah, no.
But meanwhile, a couple of weeks ago, I go to somebody's house and it's somebody's birthday. There's a piano. I've just sang 6 nights in a row. I can barely talk. And, oh, guess who has to fucking sing and play for everybody?
Yep. I will say, I always say, like, moving to LA to be an actor, the only thing harder is moving to LA to be a musician. And you bust your ass.
I have no idea because my perspective is of the people who are doing pretty well. And because that's just the people in my circle. But I imagine there's some people who are so fucked.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, we have that discussion all the time. Like, is it harder to make a career as an actor in LA or as a musician? I definitely think as a musician, especially now. I mean, what other circumstance? Like, I mean, you can be an extra in LA and you can be okay. You can pay your rent.
I'd be making much more money if I was just working as an extra. It's
Yeah.
so consistent.
Oh, I know. People knock it so much. I mean, obviously, it's not starring role, but
Well, they treat you like trash if
yeah.
you do it. Like I feel
but you
so
get-
bad.
you
but
get
they
Fritos, though.
You get at least $100 a day, and all your meals are covered, and just snack, get other work done.
Right, but more importantly, you're networking with a bunch of other extras. Like, I'd say most extras aren't there just because it's easy money. Most people are just finding some way to work their way out of being an extra and into actually having some kind of role. I mean, you look at all these. There's zillions of actors that started out as extras. Namely, Jack Black was like a perennial
no idea.
extra. Yeah, he moved here and he was just an extra in everything. And, I mean, granted, he's not like a good looking dude. Like, I don't think Matthew McConaughey ever had to be an extra anywhere, or Paul Walker, may he rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I mean, but back to what you were saying, you were making a point before we got off the rails on it a little bit.
Yeah.
In regards to doing a monologue or something like that. But real quick, I've been dying for someone to ask me to do my fucking monologue, and no one ever does. I'm just sitting there waiting for it. Like, oh, you're an actor, huh? I'm like, yes, I am. What's your follow-up question? What have I seen you? Nah, fuck you. I wanted to do my monologue from Swordfish.
That's hilarious because you just really are not expected to do it. Like, it's not a part of like all my actor friends. It's never just like, oh, can you do your recent scene that you're in, or like, do you have a comedy bit? Like doesn't happen. And if it does, you can easily just be like, for you, I only do that when the camera's on.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, actually, in retrospect, I did have the one time was the worst time I was ever asked to do any off the cuff acting. So I was out in Santa Monica one night. It was very late, and it was St. Patrick's Day, so everyone was 3 sheets to the wind. And I meet this dude that I'd always seen around, and we were like friends through other friends. And so we get to hanging out and talk, and he's like super cool. And he's like, okay, like he works for, I think, Fox or something like that. And he's like, oh, what are you working? I'm like, well, I just booked a job today. And he's like, oh, what was the audition like? I'm like, well, I just had to improv extorting money from somebody, starting out like we were old friends and then progressively getting angry as I realized that he was screwing me over. He's like, okay, do it. I'm like, what? He's like, just get money from me, man. And like, I was so like, you know, when you're drunk, you think you can do things you can't do. So we're in this crowded club, and I start doing it, and then I start screaming at him to give me my fucking money. And people are looking at us like bouncers are like stiffening up, and I'm just like, no, it was a scene in my audition. And this guy's just like doubled over laughing that I'm about to get like forcibly removed from the club for doing my audition for him.
Oh my God, you just gave me a flashback. In like my first acting class in college, I had to do this scene where like I was really drunk or whatever. And the girl I did the scene with, like every time we'd go out and get drunk would be like, let's rehearse. We're drunk.
God. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, where are you studying right now? Are you taking any classes?
So right now, oh my God, so I blew through all my savings because I took classes nonstop for my first 2 years. I was at Scott Cedita Acting Studios, which was great. I was at Groundlings and UCB.
Nice.
And I was doing voiceover classes at Voicecaster. And I took a little hiatus because it's money and I'm trying to decide, do I want to continue right now with UCB or Groundlings? Ideally, I'd like to go through both. But just for now, like, what would I rather do? In the meantime, though, right now I'm just in advanced voiceover at Voicecaster, which I'm loving.
Nice. Good. Yeah, a lot of money in that voiceover, man. And when you can be like Pierce Brosnan, like I'm sure he made more for narrating Planet Earth than he did for all the James Bonds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can we also talk about his beautiful voice in Mamma Mia?
Oh, my God. Dude, I fucking love Pierce Brosnan. Dude, he's my favorite James Bond. Yes, more than Sean Connery.
He's smooth, man. I did appreciate him as Bond. Although I do like the current guy. What's his name?
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig.
I appreciate that Pierce Brosnan was the most attractive Bond, which I think is important.
I mean, it's more realistic.
It's more
if you're going to be calling people sugar puss, you need to
and
at
getting
least,
away with it. Yeah.
You got to be beautiful. Yeah. We have a couple comments on Facebook there.
What do we got?
Danny Gutner says, longtime listener, first time caller was was wondering, what does Tom do to make his skin look so soft?
That's a great question, Dan. Also a personal one. I'll send it to you in a text message, and I'll get it notarized so you know it's from Tom Bates of the Hollywood Hustle and not another imposter, which we've been having a problem with lately.
I mean, you got to get verified on all forms of social media, just to guarantee that nobody's stealing your identity. And then Ariel's Steve commented with some heart eyes. So,
oh my God.
Yes, he's watching.
And I think, Steve, you are the first person to drop an emoji in the comments section.
Oh, wow.
You get a free prize to be named later. Very later.
Yeah. So what else was I love picking actors' brains because there's so many parallels between it and what I do, but it's also like there is so much of this like fog and smoke involved, which in music, I mean, other than like the fucking image of the artist that you see on Top 40 radio, everybody in music knows, everybody's behind the scenes for the most part, and everybody has a particular set of skills that you have to either be able to write, produce, play, sing. Like everybody has their own little place in this ecosystem. There's lots of, you could be multiple if you have training, and there's so much, people go to school for music all the time. But then with actors, I come across people like you who actually do it for real, and are like actively getting better at the craft and learning the business. And then there's the people who are just like, yeah, I'm an actor. And it's just like, that just wouldn't ever really happen in music. It's so much more difficult to just claim to be a musician.
That person can still totally take off.
It could happen.
It's just meeting. That's what, like, it's so crazy. One of like my best friend who goes to all the networking events with me, Alyssa Brody. She's amazing.
I know her.
Yeah. I don't know anybody who works harder than her. Like, she reads every book on acting, and I try to, but like, I mean, she broke her foot, and like, we both break our feet, I guess.
Yeah, there's a commonality.
Oh my God. But she tore 3 ligaments and had surgery last week. And she has just been working from home. Like, she can't submit to auditions because she can't go in, but she's just like reading books, doing research, finding out about anything in the world. Like, so we'll have work days where we just sit down, we go to the library, we go to a coffee shop, and we just read about the industry and anything we can be doing.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, you have to arm yourself with knowledge out here because everyone's going to expect you to have that level of knowledge. Very few people. I mean, if you have a mentor or something like that, they'll help you. But your agent doesn't want to have to explain shit to you, and your manager doesn't want to do that. And sure as shit, no producer director is.
Oh yeah.
You know. But also a quick thing. So as a musician, in the strict sense, I don't think you can get away with it because someone will throw you on a piano or a guitar and find out real quick you're not a musician. But if you're a rapper,
Oh yeah.
every motherfucker is a rapper.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on. You rhyme drama and mama, and it's like you're basically Lil Wayne. I mean, it is so terrible. But that's just, I got to let out some hate. You know,
It's true. It would not be the Hollywood hustle if there wasn't some aggression involved. So the testosterone is being fantastically offset today. It's nice to have a little different perspective in the building. So when it comes to getting an agent or a manager, how does that work?
Oh, that's the nightmare of what I do, I think. Especially because the feedback I constantly get is that I'm in the most oversaturated category because every young blonde moves to LA to do what I do.
Yeah.
And every agent manager already has like 10 young blondes. And so I'm constantly getting the feedback like, you're great. We love you. We have too many blondes if we sign you. And it's not even like, oh, I'll dye my hair. There's a million young everythings. Like, but specifically, like if they have someone who looks like me, which I have kind of a generic young pretty blonde thing, they are going to say, if we sign you, we're taking away work from the people we already sign, or it's just going to be too diluted. So that's been like my biggest nightmare since I get myself pretty much all my work, literally all my work. I know how to market myself pretty well. I know how to get myself out. I work really hard. As far as like finding agents and managers, it's so much work. So there's, I'm funneling it. The first time I came out, I did the hard copy headshot resume, very basic cover letter that was not good that I sent out to like 100 people and heard back from like 2. And then the second time I did it, I heard back from a lot more people, but they were all like, oh, we love you, but we have one of you. And so I'm about to do round 3, but at least this time, most of them aren't even they're going to throw out your stuff unless you know someone they know.
Yeah.
And then they'll get you in. So this time around, I have a couple friends who are killing it, who are like, you're great. I know you're great. And I know that I can back you up without embarrassing myself. So I'm going to tell my agent, my manager, to check you out. And so that's the way I'm going into it this summer. Now the pilot season's over. It's time to reach out. And so I'm about to do that this month and go through friends, which I think is going to be the most successful ever because I had representation and it just...
They did nothing.
they did nothing okay. So like this past year, my agent, and I won't say names, my agent got me in for like 20 auditions for full frontal nudity. And every single time it's like, thank you so much. I did tell you I don't do full frontal nudity. And then a couple weeks pass. Oh, thank you so much. I did already tell you I don't do full frontal nudity. And then one time there was House of Cards was auditioning for like a 16-year-old blonde. And I was like, if I take off all my makeup, I can look 16. We can play that game. And they work in Baltimore. So I was like, can you submit me to this and say that I can work local Baltimore? They don't have to fly me out. They don't have to pay for hotels.
Yeah.
I think that'll be a pretty appealing offer. And he's like, you don't look 16 and they want someone with blue eyes. Don't you have green eyes? And I was like, yeah, this isn't what I want in an agent.
Yeah.
So I submitted myself and they called me in.
Wow.
Yeah. So looking for some better reps right now.
Yeah, I think that everyone goes through that when they move to Hollywood, and you get all excited because it's like, yes, right off the bat, I got representation, good, and then you realize like there is good representation and there is bad representation, and it doesn't cost them anything to represent you. You sign to some kind of exclusive agreement, and they basically take you out of the pool of competition for the people that they're pushing.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, I was with an agency that. It was commercial modeling and stuff like that, and they're people that work. They don't work day jobs. They make a killing. They make 6 figures, and they've sent me out for 2 auditions in the past year, and it's to the point where I know what they're doing. So they send me out for these auditions like the day of. They'll shoot me an email at 9 a.m. when they get to work, like, hey, you need to be at this studio at like 2. And I'll be like, I'm working. Like, well, how are we ever supposed to get you booked if you're always working? I'm like, how the fuck am I supposed to live if you don't send me out for anything and I can't feed myself?
Yeah.
Like, well, that's not our problem. I'm like, yeah, I guess it's not. It's not going to be your problem. you're fired.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just started like looking around for my artist project because I have an agent for my gigs, right? And shout out to Woody, you're the man. But when it comes to managing your original project and promoting your albums and that kind of stuff, like you really do need a team. And I'm finding it really interesting because all the best managers and management companies and agencies, they only have a couple clients, really, like the best ones. And the only way to get in is going to be personal recommendation.
Oh, 100%. And
Yeah.
I mean, all the big agencies won't even like take your stuff, but I think a lot of the mid-level agencies, they accept submissions, but what they're really is like, what it's really for. And I even heard directly from someone once that like somebody asked them a question, they answered it at a workshop. They're just looking for something they don't have. Like, oh, this, and I mean, this is what I see a lot of times. It's like, oh, you have this rare skin condition. Oh, you're missing a limb. And like, that's like when I'm on the actor submission sites that I use, it's all low budget stuff. And when you see the big budget stuff, it's because they're looking for someone that they don't already have.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh, we need to just do a big search to find this specific thing. So it's tricky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well-
Like if you're just a normal person that can act or sing, you need to know the right people.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I think my most successful actor friend, he's typecast. He can only be typecast. Full sleeve, long hair. He kind of looks like Tom, but he's got piercing blue eyes. Looks almost like a vampire, you know. But he gets cast in biker / rocker roles, and that's it. And he's doing really well for himself. He's filming in Cuba right now before he goes to like fucking Romania or some shit. Just always on different projects, and he makes his big TV money, and then he does his artistic indie films that he loves that he gets to star in and be like a part of the whole process.
That's branding.
And
If you can brand yourself successfully, you're like golden.
Yeah.
And that's something I could like improve on, that I'm like reading all about branding and trying to figure that out. Because if you know how to like, oh, this is what casting directors see when they look at you. If you know how to correctly dress for that and do your makeup for that.
and always just be that. And that's I think the less you have to like act, the better. You know, obviously there's some roles where you want to, you know, they like versatility. You know, it's kind of a general rule, like don't get tattoos if you want to be an actor.
Yeah.
Like you want to be able to fall into any role because that gives you more opportunities, but then there's more people going for those.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting because like you could have like some kind of deformity or be like an old fucking hillbilly with tobacco stains on your shirt, and that might, if you walk into an audition and that's what they're looking for, like you got the job.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there's more work for those people. There absolutely isn't. Like
No.
I'm very fortunate that like most casting places are like young blondes. That's what we want, which, you know, sucks, but that's like
Yeah.
a lot of what it is. It's just that there's so many of us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, and then you look at, I think, like, the king of nailing his typecast is Danny Trejo.
oh, 100%.
Yeah, he gets it, right? I mean, granted, he looked like that when he was, like, 13. I mean, his story is unbelievable. He was, like, a heroin addict at 12, in and out of Mexican prisons, running cell blocks, and then moves to Hollywood and, you know, give this acting thing a shot, and the rest is history, right?
And gives so much of his money back.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like I like him as an individual, and I don't like everything, as our viewers know. But yeah, he understands that typecast situation. And back to like branding and figuring out the look and the headshots and what to submit to the casting directors to be like, this little package here, this little brand, this is my brand of whiskey. Totally different than that, maybe similar, but this is me, and no one's me but me. Right? So I have a mentor who, as the days go by, I'm like, this is like a total godsend, because like I gave her my headshot, and she sees me and the way I dress and everything. She's a costume designer, and she's worked in the business for like 45 years. And she's like, when I get back, she's shooting in South Africa. When I get back from South Africa, we're gonna do a whole revamp. I'm like, thank you. Because you're going to tell me and show me all kinds of shit that I otherwise would have to learn the hard way over time, or just not even see, because I don't see it from that perspective, from that viewpoint. So, yes, by all means. I mean, just don't make me, like, you know, do anything stupid or regretful, which she wouldn't, because she knows.
Feather boas are very in right now, especially for you. I think that really is your brand.
You will have no hand in this, Jordan.
Well, she called me earlier, and that's what she said. But
Oh
sorry.
yeah, what's her name?
I'm not gonna throw her under the bus like that on the air.
Well played, sir.
Yeah. But yeah, it's same thing with music. Like when you're submitting to, because I guess the form of, instead of talent agency, it's more like record labels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you need to always put your best foot forward. Everything has to make perfect sense. Like the way you look, the first single. Do you have ideas for videos? Do you have more songs? That's the main thing they want to know. Like, how many songs do you have? And then there's all these labels. They're hooked up with publishers who also are interested in people who are just the creators, you know, instead of the people who are the artists. And I'm sure that's similar in film, where actually it's probably not as similar in film, where they're actually looking for straight up talent instead of people who are going to run the show. You know what I mean? Like, when they're looking for actors, do they care that you write shit? Do they care that you produce shit? Or
No, they want you to show up and
Be
do
a sheep.
specifically what you're there for. Yeah.
That's interesting, because in music, it's like the opposite. The more you can do, the more value you have.
Yeah, I was just booked in this sci-fi series that I'm about to film that I'm pretty excited about.
Ooh.
And so I sat down and just had coffee with like the director for a while. He's like awesome guy. And he was telling me about like some of his past experiences, because he produces a lot. And he was saying he was on set one time and there was this actress that was just awful to work with. And she was, and not just awful to him and the crew, but to the other actors. And he was like, I thought it was so amazing that, why didn't any of the actors say anything to us? And I'm like, that is not our job. We are there to deal with anything that's thrown our way and just kind of suck it up. Like, I've been in a lot of sets where people are awful and your job is just to know your lines and do a good job and deal with whatever's thrown your way.
Yeah, the power does not seem in the hands of the actors at all.
Not at our level,
Yeah.
but I'm sure
Yeah.
you've all heard the Christian Bale stories.
Oh my God. I'd seen the video.
I love that guy. He's like my biggest inspiration. That guy is, he's the man. My roommate sold him a gallon of paint at a hardware store in West Hollywood.
Wow.
Yeah. It's the closest I've ever got to him. It's my roommate sold him paint.
Well, I wonder, is he actually painting with it, or is he doing some type of research for a role where he like buries his face in paint and tries to breathe and
Yeah.
like
No, so he wants to do more avant-garde stuff, and he's tired of the big status as a movie star, and he remembers when he was young, the rise to fame. That was everything. It was the ride, right? Mm-hmm. So he's going back down, changing his name, and he's starting off as an extra in a movie as paint huffing homeless man number 3.
Like, look, you're joking, but this would be a fantastic screenplay.
I like the way you think.
Thank you.
Yeah, that actually is a pretty good script. Damn.
see, but don't bother writing it, because nobody cares. I'm kidding, but not at the same time, because
Yeah.
it's just bizarre, because you would think that that these people would appreciate someone who knows more about the process of making a film and having somebody like that on their team, but it seems like they would prefer to have someone who is a talking face.
Yeah, and I think the people who do care, like a manager would care. If a manager is looking for someone, they're like, oh, you're making your own work. That means...
Because it shows the dedication and
it shows the dedication, and it shows like, okay, that means you're making connections with people. You're getting yourself out there. Like, especially because, ideally with the film I'm making, I'm going to submit it to like every short film festival in existence. And like all my friends who do short films do the same thing. And I was in one in DC where the director just works so hard and he submitted everywhere. So we were up for a bunch of awards. And I'm like, if people put in the work like that when it's their baby and it's low budget and they want it out there, it looks good. But again, your reps and the people making money off you are the only ones who care about that.
Yeah. Well, because it is a good way to get your reel kind of going too, right? Like
100%. Yeah.
And if you're that entrepreneurial, like it really does indicate how far you can take it, I think.
Yeah. Well, I have a direct recent experience with the topic we're discussing. So I'm in a cold reading class at the Chubbuck studio, and the guy that holds the class, he's been a mainstay in Hollywood for like 30 years. And a bunch of people in the class are talking about, oh, I need to expand my reel. I need to get better footage. I need to get more versatile footage. And what would you suggest? And he's like, well, I suggest everyone in this room work together, create a project, and then you can all get a scene in there, and you'll get much more out of that than paying $2,000 to have someone shoot a reel for you. You'll have your project, you can take it, you can submit it to festivals. He's like, that's the way you got to think this day and age. You need to try to be as self-sufficient as possible, because it's like, you're not just going to wait staring at the phone for a call or staring at your computer and refreshing the emails. He's like, just fucking do it yourself. Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. As far as social media goes, how important is your presence online as an actor, or does it not matter?
Whew. It's so, oh my gosh, it's the craziest thing. That's the biggest change I know in the industry in recent years. Oh my God, I could go on and on about this, and it's
Please
not
do.
something I even know that much about.
Yeah.
My social media is not great. Like, I haven't done all the things that you're like supposed to do. I know that the biggest difference it's making is commercials, because a lot of A-list stars are no longer repping products. It's gone to the people with huge followings, whether that's like YouTubers. I know with like booking commercials, that's where social media makes the biggest difference, but it's also found its way into indie projects, because that's how you get attention. Yeah. And so a lot of times you'll see people who have no training aren't very good, but if they have the following, they're going to get those spots.
Yeah.
And even like, so, they were just doing the big casting call for the new host of Blue's Clues. And they were taking submissions from people's self-tapes from like thousands of people. And they had an audition here, and I like signed up for a time slot. And then I was like, I've got too many skeletons on social media to ever host Blue's Clues. There's just
wasn't he like
too much there.
Wasn't he like a cokehead?
Yeah,
I think
you
he'd be
look
all
at
right.
that. You look at his face. Like, I'm like, dude, that guy's many late nights.
My friend knows him, and all that stuff was like made. He just left to do his band, and it was just like urban.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure he
In between lines of blow.
Look, people who do people in bands, I'm sure have some fun.
Yeah,
do they, Jordan?
Not my band. We are strictly business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No parties there.
No.
They're actually switching over the Christian rock genre, so they have to serve cookies and punch at shows instead of hard liquor. And
honestly, that
favors.
sounds like my ideal show. I mean, minus the Christian rock. If you could start serving cookies and punch.
That's how we get all the cute girls to the shows, is like, we have snacks.
Honestly, if at like the merch table you had cookies and you're like, with the purchase of any merch, you get cookies, you would just make a killing.
Hell yeah, that's a good idea.
Thank you.
But back to the social media thing, I think, it's obviously huge with music because you're promoting your own shit all the time. But I think with acting, like you said, my buddy that I was talking about before, who has the TV roles and is getting all these indies, he definitely already had a pretty substantial following before he got that first role. And then it's like, now it's fucking huge, And it's to the point where now, like, he makes money for just doing an Instagram story and just being like, yo, I use this thing every day. It's the best. Thanks, guys. And $5,000.
Oh, yeah. No. And what's crazy, too, is so there's the people who can make so much money as influencers. Like, I'm on Facebook groups with different actors and stuff, and they'll post like, hey, we're looking for an influencer. We'll pay you X amount of money just to say you use this. Or, there's so much money to be made if you are an influencer. But then the other thing is, if it comes to casting and they want someone, I'll see on casting notices, like, looking for someone with more than 10,000 followers for a role. Not even like,
well, 10,000 is the magic number, because that's when you can do the swipe up and actually promote a direct product in your Instagram story.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, I just know that with you can buy followers. They're fake, but like I don't know how you say his name. It's either Joe Mandy. He went off Twitter and he posted this like long rant about why he hates social media. And he was like, oh, and by the way, I bought 2 million followers for like $300.
Yeah.
Cause that's a big thing. And I know people in the industry where they'll be up for a big role. So they'll just buy a bunch of followers before it goes to producers.
But anybody who actually knows it, though, will see that they're fake.
It's very obvious when they're fake. So obvious.
Just because of the amount of comments and
I have like
likes and
200
shit.
followers on Twitter, but if I tweet something, it's going to get maybe like a range of like 5 to 20 people interacting with like liking or retweeting.
That's a fantastic ratio.
Thank you.
Can we multiply this?
Can we multiply? But then, you see the people with the fake followers who are getting like, who have like 1 million and they get, the 1 or 2 and you're like, well, yours are fake.
Yeah. So it's pretty obvious, but I think it's important because I know Tom has a huge disdain for social media.
That's an understatement.
And
I hate social media.
And again, it can be the biggest time waster. It can be a huge deterrent from what you actually want to do.
It's not real.
Whew.
Yeah, it's not. But I do think in this game, you need to do as many things as you possibly can to get a leg up. And I think even in acting, it is one. So, and you kind of saying this confirms it because I've never talked about that with anybody. We've talked about it a little bit, and we were kind of under the assumption that the role gets you the following, you know?
Mm-mm.
But if you have a following first, it's got to be more appealing, especially if you have like a web series or something like where you're constantly posting content and you're even on your Instagram, you're like doing funny jokes or like some type of stupid shit. And you have an engaged audience, like it's good practice too, right?
There's people whose whole job is to help you get a following, and there's formulas to it. Like I know I've read it, and I just don't care enough to do it. And it's so bad, but I'm like you, where I'm just like, I like social media for seeing pictures of my cousin's baby and for happy little jokes, and that's kind of it. Like I don't know, like I see that there's formulas, like post on a Tuesday at this specific time, use these specific hashtags, and there's people who make their living telling people what to do. I have one of my best friends. His job is to tweet for major TV shows, and he runs the Twitter for, I won't say the names, but like the biggest TV shows on television. He knows all these formulas, and there's a huge amount of money to be made from knowing that stuff. And I feel like I'm here to do art and I'm here to act, and I'd rather spend my time taking classes, reading books about the industry than putting a lot of time into social media, even though I probably should.
No. That's what's going to pay off, because you know what? Facebook, thanks for the live feed, but you're becoming obsolete. Facebook is becoming obsolete. In 5 years, people aren't going to be using Facebook like they are today.
No, but it'll be some type of video streaming.
Sure, it'll be something else.
Yeah.
So my advice is keep your ear to the ground, find out what's next. Because could you imagine what your life would be like if you had this knowledge and you're one of the first 20,000 people to hop on Instagram? Like any one of us would be a star from that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, social media, it's fake. It's not real. That's my problem with it. And there's a larger overarching theme of society that it represents that I have a thorough disdain for. But I mean, even this dude that's teaching this cold reading class, Hollywood, 30 years, he was on a whole Full House and in a bunch of movies and shit, career actor. And he's like, we're working on this project and we need to fill this role. And the corporate producer's like, well, maybe you can find someone that's got like 5 million followers on Instagram. He's like, but what if she can't act? He's like, yeah, you'll teach her. It's like, that's not my fucking job. Okay? I want to produce a movie. I'm not an acting coach for some chick that's showing her ass in a bikini. Because you want 5 million followers on Instagram and you're a chick, that's how you're going to do it. Unless you're Amy Schumer, but she's pushed by the industry, so she doesn't count. But, I mean, my disdain for social media is like, okay, that's fine. That's like competing in a home run derby against somebody who's on steroids. It's like, okay, fine, you win, but you fucking cheated. It's not real. You know, I don't know. That's my opinion on social media. I think it is far more bad than good. It's turned into a commercialized, vapid marketplace, and I think eventually, in due time, I really hope it'll become obsolete.
I don't.
Yeah,
because I posted a photo that I was playing in Malibu, and a couple friends showed up, and we had a great time, and they wouldn't have known that I was there if I didn't do it. So,
what about calling them on a telephone, sending out a text?
There's too many people.
You know how many people I know in this world right now? And you know, when I go places and I say, oh, hey, I'm in London, I'm here in Australia, and people are like, oh, I'm here too, let's meet up. It's fucking incredible. Like, the amount of connections that you're able to keep up with is awesome. And again, you are completely right about the downsides in the marketplace and the selling of fucking people's what they're into and collecting all that data and how evil all of that is. And that's where I think you're right. And the next thing might be the better thing, but being up on it, knowing how to do it, and caring about just wanting to continue to propagate your, as if you're an artist, you have a message, you have some ideas, you have something. It doesn't have to be fucking groundbreaking. It's not like this program, which is incredible, which is the only reason that anybody even knows it exists is because of social media. Unless you want to go to a bar every night and be like, hey, you must listen to my show tomorrow. Look it up. No, save it. Give it 5 stars right now. Like, and that's doable too. I could send out one fucking tweet or Instagram thing and get several plays right then and there. And it's people who are actively wanting to keep up with what's going on.
Sure, it's nuanced. I mean, there is an element of being able to reach that mass audience, but even you said it is thoroughly abused.
Oh, yeah.
It is totally skewed to a different market. Again, like, if you're some guy and you're on a TV, or you're a fantastic musician, like, and you have a great social media presence, you do it every day religiously, you have a good product, you're in a good band, you're young, you're cool, you're hip, and then some 19-year-old girl that's in a sorority posts a picture of her butt.
Oh, yeah.
Who's going to get more likes? Who's going to get more followers?
100%.
Yeah.
And again, it's not fair, but nothing is fair. And it's just magnified there because it's of how quickly and how vast the reach is. It's very, it's just obvious how fucking blatant it is. But it happens in real life all the time too. I mean, how many people get a role that are just slightly better looking and less talented?
Oh, yeah.
And, that's just the way life works. And we're a very judgmental society. And it's unfortunate, but on social media, you can break through if your message is strong. And if you have something to say. And like, how many podcasts do you listen to? They have to promote it some way. They're not, like, what's the other way to promote stuff?
Kind of a full disclosure, the podcasts that I listen to aren't allowed to advertise.
Oh. So how do you find them?
If you catch my drift.
How do you find them?
I find them, it was a dark hole of the internet that I went down, maybe or maybe not, after the 2016 election, of finding these people. I'll talk to you about it after the podcast about how you. No, I mean, it wasn't dark hole. These people are truth seekers, but they are silence for wrongthink. But anyway, yeah. So that's how I found them. And then the irony is that their audience is so diehard because of what they're saying is being suppressed in mainstream society. And they can't. They're literally taken off websites. GoDaddy is revoking their domain names. And they're not allowed to tweet or advertise on Facebook. They're kicked off every single social media platform. And it just further propagates what they're saying and everything. So,
I'm just curious.
It wasn't through social media.
I'm just curious how anybody finds out about anything because the paper's dead. Like, it's Twitter, Facebook. Like, unless you want to watch the fucking news.
For every bad thing, there's good things. Like, when things are going horribly in the world, like, there's so many stories that we get to know about because of smartphones that we wouldn't have seen because now people have cameras everywhere they go. And in addition, there's studies, right, that show if you're someone that's prone to depression, Facebook's going to make you more depressed. But then at the same time, there's positives to everything. Like, if someone passes away, there's this thing that now their Facebook page becomes like a tribute where everybody can write their fond memories and tag them, and it becomes this like weird space. And I don't know, it's social media is everywhere. It's fake, it's weird, but it's feeling like it's hard, right, when it's becoming your whole life. But if you can find the balance, there's so much positivity to it.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because it's a nuanced situation. And I'm not going to sit here and defend this against obvious facts that, there are good things about it, right? You get to see your cousin's baby. And otherwise, you'd have to FaceTime or something. But Facebook is an easy medium for that. Or you can go to London, put something out on Facebook, and people meet up with you. Sure, there are definitely some positives. But I think in the end, with what we're talking about, with the scope of the conversation, of how it affects you getting jobs as an entertainer, it's a net negative.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Unless you decide to want to win at it.
Well, I would say,
good luck.
I'd say the big difference here is social media affecting castings, I think, is almost always bad, but I feel like social media helping musicians who are gaining followings from people who see you play and are like, oh, I loved them, I want to find out when they're going to play next, I think is almost always a positive. I think it's like one of the biggest differences between our industries.
Yeah, I mean, for most gigs, your following doesn't matter as far as music goes. Mm-hmm. For anything creativity related and wanting to promote material and collaborate with other people, it's all not just your numbers on your fucking socials, obviously, but it's who have you worked with? What, you know, do you have any cuts with these artists? That kind of shit. But for me, it is a tough slope because it is fake and it is annoying, but at the same time, it's like what's been able to help me build my career for sure. And not only, but it's been a huge fucking part of it for sure. Mm-hmm. And otherwise, I would make an album, and how else would anybody know that I made the album? Because it's not like we're in a fucking town of 500 people, and I can have a fucking, all right, Thursday at 2 p.m. we're all meeting down by the tower, and I'm going to tell you what I did, and you're going to listen to it, and you're going to like it, you know.
Right. I mean, it would be, how did people do it back in the day? Well, obviously, if you're an artist on a record label, your record label pushes and advertises for you, and they had much more power back then, right? If you're an independent artist, well, underground, you play a bunch of shows, you start out with a couple of your close friends, and if it's good, it'll perpetuate itself, right? But also you can say, yeah, but that's not as expedient as social media. But it's like, yeah, well, every other kid that gets an MPC 500 and a microphone is now an artist, and their stuff has just as much weight as yours because they are posting about it 5 times a day. Yep. And it could be the shittiest shit in the world, but last time I saw driving down here on Melrose Boulevard, there is a billboard outside of Fairfax High School that says Lil Yachty is headlining a music festival. Take that in for a second. Lil Yachty is he's getting paid, I don't know, 200 grand to yo and do a microphone in front of 50,000 people. Yeah. Because he's being pushed. So that's what this creates. It's very easy to perpetuate that.
Yeah, but without it, how do you even have a chance?
Without social media, how do you have a chance of getting your music heard?
Yeah.
Like I just said, you play shows. People are more interested in hearing music. Like it falls on deaf ears in the era of social media. Like, if I didn't know you, I wouldn't listen to your music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I didn't personally know you and care about you as an individual and want to hear what you did. I mean, so many people are like in bands, like even locally, that I know secondhand. I'm like, I don't give a shit about their music.
Yeah.
You know? And I've been in that position on the other side, so I can say, like, people have seen me and think, I don't give a shit what Tom's doing.
Yeah.
I've got more important stuff to do, and oh, great, another artist, just what I need, filling up my Instagram feed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. I just feel like in the era of social media, it is so oversaturated, and with the proliferation of music, it's just it's a market saturated where it completely loses value. It's a very simple economic principle being exercised.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But as an actor, I mean, I'm not going to be so duplicitous here to say that if you gave me 10 million followers, I would reject it, because I know how it makes getting a job much easier, right? I mean, if you go into an audition and it's between you and Joe, but Joe has 10 million Instagram followers and I have 600, they're going to choose Joe.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't know. And then we're still in the infantile stages of social media. They're like, when did social media really become a thing? Right? Like 2004?
Really 8.
Yeah, 8. Like pretty much like Obama's first term was a huge shift in society towards the social media era.
Yeah.
That's when Facebook became huge, because remember, Facebook, when it started out, you had to be a college student.
Yep.
You had to have a .edu email address, I believe, was part of the deal. And then everyone says it ruined it when baby boomers got on Facebook, and you know, you post a picture of you out drinking with your friends one night, and like your Aunt Josephine would be like, "Oh, that's not good Christian behavior. I remember when you were just a 3-year-old kid." You know, like, and that ruined social media. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see the way everything unfolds.
Yeah.
Can I just tell you my favorite anecdote about that?
Please do. You're the guest. Talk as much as you want.
I remember like when I got the friend request from like my parents and my grandparents. I was like, all right, time to go back and untag and delete things, because this was when I was in college. And but my favorite thing is one of my best friends went to Europe for study abroad, and he posted, he's very like hipster, cool guy, and he posted a status that was just like absinthe, period. And that was it. And his mom commented, with the first paragraph from the Wikipedia entry for absinthe.
Oh my God.
And so she just comments, but without quotes, like as if she's writing it herself. So it's like, absinthe is a dangerous hallucinogenic drug. And then just like the whole paragraph. And it like, I think his status got, like 3 likes and her comment got like 100. It was my favorite thing that has ever happened.
Oh man, that's good. That illustrates it, like boom, right there. Because again, like it was created for kids in college, and that's what they post. Like, oh look, I'm so cool, I'm doing a keg stand, or like some girls like, this is me and my besties. And then you get someone's mom like, overconsumption of alcohol can kill your brain cells, and you're there to learn. Or like some dad's gonna be like, put some clothes on.
Well,
or something
the
like that,
epitome
right?
of that to me was like when I started college. So in high school, I was like a huge nerd. I was ashamed to have a body, so I just wore like baggy clothes and it was sad. And so then I got to college. I was like, new world, new me. I'm gonna drink alcohol. I'm gonna do crazy. I'm gonna talk to boys, whatever. And all my friends knew that it was this huge, like, overnight transformation. And so for my 18th birthday, my first semester of college, they threw me a birthday party and the theme was sluts. And so everybody showed up. But it was great because the guys got into it. So all the guys show up in like just briefs, or like, like the girls show up in like just like a hilariously like fake slutty outfit.
Yeah.
And it was a great fun party. We post a million pictures because the only people on Facebook are like college students. And then, we get the Facebook invites and it's like, untag everything. Like there's, me on top of like the counter in our dorm, just like in a bikini top and a skirt. Like, yes. Oh, yeah.
If you did that now, you'd get more followers.
Right?
Yeah, that could really help your acting career.
Could really help.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that is a good one. Quick aside, have any of you ever tried absinthe?
Yes.
Did it make you hallucinate?
Fuck no.
Really?
No.
Did you do it in Amsterdam, like the real stuff?
No.
Okay. Because I did it in Canada.
Me
and
too.
like, you get like a spoon and a sugar cube. And did you do it like the whole method?
Light it on fire and...
Yeah, all that. Yeah, I did, and it didn't do anything. That was probably I remember, oh God. I just remember that I drank
2 shots.
That was the worst, I think the worst drinking night of my life. Yeah.
So you start with absinthe, or did you end with absinthe?
We started with absinthe.
Ugh.
I don't want to get into more details. That was one of those times where like, it's like, I'm never drinking again. And like for months later, it's like, yep, that happened. I'm never drinking again.
Damn.
Yeah. No, that was a rough one.
Yeah, absinthe is just like taking 2 shots to me. It's not like 1 shot of absinthe equals 2 shots of Jack. Like I didn't feel any different. It might be a little bit more euphoric, like a little more like just kind of uplifting, but that was it.
Were people doing Everclear as a thing when you guys were in college?
Yeah, they used to do this thing, hunch punch. So you could create like a Hawaiian punch. It's like, you don't think that's going to give you a hangover and make you throw up?
Every kind of liquor ever. It turns purple. You don't even know how.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like a chemical reaction going on, like bonding of molecules and everything to upset your stomach. Everclear, I had a shot of that once and it was not pleasant.
Oh yeah, I had like, they would do the shot, but they would do it in the lid of a water bottle. Because that's like how much people can handle. Oh, it was just the absolute worst.
Yeah.
Why was that? The things people also, Four Loko was legal.
Four Loko.
No. No.
Oh my God.
Oh man. Yeah, those were taken off the market because people started dying.
Might as well tell a Four Loko story.
Oh yeah,
Please do.
Down at Sean and Sally's house in Florida, coming home from college, we were having a really good time. He had a slip and slide in the backyard. It's summertime in Florida. We're just being retarded. Keg runs out. Someone goes and does a Four Loko run. We're just pounding Four Lokos at the end of the night at like 1, 2 in the morning. And then I start freestyling in the front yard.
Oh, yes. Great.
And then I start hurling like insane amounts. And then I keep freestyling in between my pukings. And more happened, but I don't want to say the rest of it that happened on the air. So that's the exciting part.
I'm
hoping you shit yourself.
Can you just indulge our guests into what your rap name was?
Oh, thank you.
Well, I had a rap group back in high school, and we were called the 954 Man Whores.
Okay, I've got something to counter that.
Yeah.
I went to improv camp in high school because again, I was a nerd. And for like improv training, a lot of times people will have you rap because you've got to be so quick. It's not good rapping. It's the whitest rapping you've ever seen because it's improv. And because it's like so fast, I was good at it and acquired the nickname White Chocolate.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's probably when
White
it goes like,
chocolate.
what's the most embarrassing from high school? That might be the top.
Yeah, 954 Man Whores, I've definitely done my best to squash, but it comes out. It's actually, now that I'm 10 years away from that now.
Yeah, we're old.
Yeah. Now I can talk about it with the utmost joy. But for many years, I was trying everything I could to make sure that it didn't exist. With title tracks such as Baby Mama Drama, Big Old Ass.
I love this so much.
Jailbait.
Oh, no, come on.
It goes on and on and on. But
No, wait, you were in high school, so I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Were you the jailbait, or were you describing a woman as jailbait despite being underage yourself?
It went on 1 year past high school, and that was when Jailbait was written. That was on our greatest hits album.
Oh, my Lord.
The first album was called Fuck Bitches or Die Trying.
Okay, this is just the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
The second one was called Mount Bustmore.
Oh, my God.
We had a song.
This is a sketch we need to write. I need you to play yourself in high school. I'm dead serious. We're making this. Like, this
I
is
would do it.
100% a sketch we're filming.
I bet they would
I would
come
do
out from Florida to be in it because they are hilarious.
Yeah.
Shout
Can
out
I
to
be the
Casey
video
and Devin.
girl?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Okay, great.
I'll be your seedy backhanded manager.
Yeah.
We're making, like, done and done.
Yeah.
This is happening.
Oh, my God. And we had a song called A Girl Named Lee. It was about this girl, Leanne, that we went to high school with, and it was about how she gave Casey gonorrhea, which didn't actually happen. But the whole joke was that she's disgusting, and she's not at all. She's like this beautiful, amazing chick. But like that, somehow Casey thought a great idea to write this song, and she loved it. She thought it was hilarious, but it was like, I once fucked a girl, and her name was Lee, and now every time it burns when I pee because she gave me gonorrhea.
So that was an allegorical treatise on the pervasiveness of sexually transmitted infections within the youth community in South Florida, a problem they really do face.
It's true.
Absolutely. Riveting.
Did you guys ever, I just like remember we had to do reports on STDs in like middle school.
Yeah.
And I remember like Googling it. And for whatever reason, with everything that was blocked on the middle school computers, like graphic images of STDs were not blocked. And just like everyone being in the computer lab and doing these reports, we all were given different STDs and just like broken up by a few minutes at a time, like each kid just going, oh, and like just like out the room, like, oh. And I still remember it because it was such a graphic image for like a 12-year-old to behold. Not just like, oh, I'm seeing genitalia for the first time, but like
Infected
gross
genitalia.
ass genitalia.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh man, no, that's. I remember when I was in middle school, I went to a Catholic school, and we had a religion class, and the second half of the year, the whole year in a religion class, was devoted to HIV and AIDS. Just understanding the disease, the ins and outs of it. I mean, like everything, comprehensive crash 6-month or 4-month course on AIDS.
Wow.
It's very strange.
That's intense.
Yeah, we should have been learning about, like, I don't know, Christianity or Buddhism or something.
It's
Yeah.
bizarre because they won't teach you how to wear a condom, but they'll tell you like, don't get HIV.
Yeah, I mean, well, abstinence
my
is the
Lord.
best.
No, when I did this Kaiser Permanente job, we would do theater shows throughout like high schools and middle school. I had elementary schools in like Baltimore and DC, and so for elementary school we had like a couple shows that were like fun puppet shows. Like the same people that made the Sesame Street puppets made our puppets. They were amazing.
Oh, good puppets.
Good. Look,
The best.
I went to Jim Henson's alma mater. I know
What?
good puppets.
Damn, I've heard the celebrity.
Oh, yeah. So we did these great puppet shows. The middle school show was about bullying, which was awful because we'd get bullied when we show up to the school.
The irony.
No, like they had us like they put me in like all black spandex, and I was like, "Don't do this to me! I don't do this to me!" And then like I walked out on the stage the first time we did the show, and somebody goes, "Hey, look, it's Iggy Azalea," and I was like, "God damn it!" But so the high school show.
That's a good jab.
Yeah. Oh no, what got worse was somebody was like, "Oh no, she looks like Christina," and you just hear this girl go, "That bitch does not look like me." I was like, fuck you too, Christina. But so the high school show was all about HIV. And it was this like award-winning drama with some aspects of comedy. But in the show, I was supposed to do a condom demonstration. And it was optional. So the school could choose if they wanted to do it or not. And we were never allowed to do it in middle schools. But we went to this half middle, half high school one time, and we didn't know we were doing the show just for 8th graders. And the principal had like clearly just not read the paperwork we gave. And so they were like, yeah, do the condom demo, like checked it off like 3 separate times. And so we did it. And then like in the middle of the condom demo, you just watch like this chubby old man principal like sprinting to the front of the auditorium, like, no. And like, it was too late. But like, then all the teachers at the school came up to us and were like, these kids are already having sex. So like, we are so glad you did this condom demo. I was like, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. That's hilarious. God. Well, we've been going for quite a while.
This is probably our longest show, and certainly one of our most enjoyable shows,
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah. To the audience, let us know what you think. I mean, this is a great guest host, our first live 3-way conversation, so be sure to let us know what you think. We'll get more guests on here. But it's going to be hard to beat, Ariel. It's going to be hard to beat.
Stop it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you so much. And we'll have to do it again, because I know it's just when you get a good flow, might as well do it more. Like we had Corey, your buddy, on. I would definitely want to have him back. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
And he's a music producer, so that's more in my world for sure. But
Well,
I love hearing what you guys
and like a model, which is a whole nother realm of entertainment and advertising that you can get a glimpse into, that he has tons of interesting stories of. Yeah.
Dope. Well, yeah, thank you so much, and we'll be back. Thanks for listening to The Hollywood Hustle.
Yep. We'll see you next week.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.